Hi, everyone. On today's episode, I'm joined by Allison, who shares her hard and ultimately beautiful journey of building a family through surrogacy. Allison opens up about the physical and mental challenges she faced during her own IVF and the relief of ultimately deciding to pursue surrogacy and the joy she felt when she found what she feels was the perfect match. She shares about the roller coaster of emotions, the delight of celebrating milestones with her surrogate, Kellie, and the importance of supportive community throughout the process. This conversation dives deep into the power of hope, connection, and the selflessness that defines surrogacy. This was truly a fairy tale journey, and I can't wait for you to listen to Allison as she reflects on the beauty and resilience of family building in this way. Grab your tissues and enjoy. Me, you, and who? Who knew it would take more than two people to have a baby? In a world where infertility is no longer a taboo topic, this podcast will take you through all of the different aspects of surrogacy and egg donation through the lens of many who walk this journey in different ways. My name is Whitney Hall, and I am a two-time surrogate, now turned surrogacy coordinator for Egg Donor and Surrogate Solutions, the very agency I used when I chose to carry for two amazing families. With this podcast, it is our goal to help guide and support you as you learn about what it takes to grow a family in an alternative way, as well as hear inspiring and beautiful stories of how this path has changed lives forever. We can't wait for you to hear about just one more way happy families are created every day. Hi, Allison. I'm so glad you're here.
Hi, Whitney. Glad to be here.
Oh my gosh, this is so fun because not only do I, just get to talk to you today, but I got to be your coordinator for your journey. So special place in my heart for sure.
Mine too.
Okay, so let's go way back, way in the Wayback Machine. What led you and Joey to looking to surrogacy as the path to grow your family?
Well, let's see. So it's, obviously it's not your first it's not your first method, right? It's not your first
Sure.
go-to when you're thinking about having a family. Even though it was an absolutely beautiful process, certainly you want to try to do it the old-fashioned way.
Sure.
And
Sure.
so we tried that, knew fairly early on that was probably not going to work without intervention. So we created embryos, and with the help of a different village. And from that point, the plan was for me to, obviously to do transfers and have our baby. And
Yeah.
we're a little older. I'm older than him. And so we knew from the beginning that it was going to be a little bit of an uphill battle. So to our doctor's credit, he was very transparent with us. He did not give us a bunch of false hope. He was very honest, but encouraging at the same time. So we felt good knowing from the beginning that this was going to be our path, or at least IVF was going to be our path. And I think a lot of people, they have a lot of pain getting just to IVF. I feel grateful we didn't have that. We didn't have that up and down, that heartbreak. We kind of knew. And so we went straight there. So we did 3 transfers with me. The first transfer was, I was technically pregnant. HCG was low. I ended up having a ruptured ectopic pregnancy.
Oh, gosh.
It happened on a Saturday morning. It
always happens on a weekend.
Why? I just don't know. But, it was the way it unfolded. It was a God thing because I was feeling I was in pain, and I was afraid of what was happening. We had an appointment scheduled the following morning because, as you know, with IVF, it doesn't sleep. Saturdays, Sundays, 8 a.m. So we had an appointment at 8 a.m. the next morning. And so it was, it worked out, but I didn't plan to go to emergency surgery that day. So that happened, and that was tough. And that was a setback. I really didn't consider the fact, A, that it wouldn't take, B, that it would unfold the way it did. So that was number one. Number two, another technical pregnancy, HCG grew, and then plateaued and stopped. And then third
Mm,
attempt was just a negative test. And at that point, I was physically and emotionally really just tapped. And
yeah.
we just had to have some honest talks about what our next steps were because we had, thankfully, several healthy, tested embryos waiting for us. So
Mm-hmm.
luckily we had that, and we weren't at a place where we were ready to pivot to, adoption or give up. And so at that point we spoke to people in the community, the help of a wonderful therapist, about what to do.
Yeah.
And she led us to a couple of different agencies to check out, one being you guys. And we really checked, we looked at your website, we had initial conversations with you guys. We really didn't go any further. uh, I think when you do this, you have to base so much of it on feel. There is
Yeah.
so much science, and you got to leave that to the experts, and then base the
Mm,
rest of it on how you feel. And we just knew after talking to you guys that that was the direction that we were comfortable going. And
yeah.
Gail, who used to be with you, she was amazing. She made us feel so warm, and
Mm,
we just knew we really didn't have to debate it any further. It's kind of like any other difficult decision in life. Once you realize that that's the path you're going,
uh-huh.
everything else after that is almost kind of a relief. And when she was
Mm,
wonderful and everybody was wonderful, I was like, okay, this is, this thing that's shrouded in mystery. These are just real people, and they're angels, and
yeah.
they're doing wonderful things for people who need a little help. And,
Sure.
it just became real. It became tangible. It became doable.
Mm.
And from there, it's just like, this is the right path for us.
I love that it became tangible and it became doable because I think you're so right. It is surrogacy, and it can be shrouded in mystery, and it can look like this, oh, that's what celebrities do, or that's that weird thing I saw in the headline, or just whatever. And the fact that your experience was, I'm talking to real people who genuinely are wanting to help other people just like me, a real person. And I'm so glad you had that experience. I want to go back just a bit. When you mentioned that you and Joey, you kind of knew pretty early, hey, we're gonna need to go an alternative route for growing our family. So you didn't necessarily have that roller coaster up and down with, years and years of trying, or you kind of went straight to the IVF route.
Right.
When you had that ectopic and then a plateau and then just a unsuccessful cycle, how were you navigating that roller coaster? Just your own emotions as well as just as partners?
Yeah, I would love to say it was pretty. Not always. It was difficult.
Sure.
Yeah, a lot of
Yeah.
tears, a lot
Mm.
of emotions that you just have no control over,
Mm-hmm.
because not only are you feeling the feels and the disappointment, but you're also on a whole bunch of medication
Absolutely.
that's like completely hijacking your body, and you're on it one, and then literally overnight you're not, and your body
Yeah.
has to then reacclimate. And
Mm.
it was a lot of just kind of perseverance and just feeling it and getting it out. And we we traveled, we went on some trips.
Yeah.
We have, our family is local, so they were able to kind of watch our dog for us, and we would just hit the road, and we
Mm.
kept busy, and we talked about it a lot. And there were
Mm-hmm.
times where I don't think he knew quite how to soothe me,
Sure.
and that was hard for him. And my response just was, I don't know that you can,
Yeah.
and you have to be okay with that, because he's a fixer, he's a soother, he's there to
Sure.
make everything right. But there was nothing that he could do in that sense,
Mm-hmm.
in that situation. So we had to sort of come to grips with that you can't fix every situation, and we just got to get through it. And we
Yeah.
did, and we just kept having hope. And, hope will take you a very long way. It will take you a
Yeah.
very long way. And as soon as you can recover and get back up and dust yourself off, then the hope emerges again. And
Mm,
and then the hope gets you to the next stage. So like people are resilient, hearts are resilient, brains,
mm.
it's bodies, bodies are resilient. And we just were able to be that way. And it didn't come without struggle. I will not lie. It was tough, but
Absolutely.
I always felt like we were on the same page. We were a team. I know that this can be very hard on a marriage. And I did worry about that, but it never drove us apart. I felt like we
Mm.
were in the trenches together, and we had support of a good circle of friends that were in the loop. Our
Yeah.
families knew. That was helpful. So I would encourage, others going through it to let some in. You may not want to broadcast it to the world, but let
Sure.
some people in so that you have
Yeah.
those people that you can just be texting with the minute you leave the doctor, you
Mm.
know, late at night, whatever. Because as helpful as your partner will be, there are times when you just need your best girlfriend or your mom.
Yeah.
And so we
Yeah.
leaned on all those people, and it was hard, but I guess ultimately we just never gave up hope, and that took us a long way.
I love that. I love that so much. You're so right. Hope really is a huge catalyst in this journey. And yeah, absolutely. I could not agree more.
Huge.
So you finally, I say finally, you got to the stage where it was okay, we need to look at alternatives. We are emotionally tapped out. We are physically tapped out. You found egg donor and surrogate solutions, I'm so glad you did. And Gail is just amazing. Shout out to her. She's just one of the most warm people. I always told her, I'm like, you're just giving me a hug with your voice.
Totally.
Yeah,
Totally.
absolutely. So, how was when you decided to move forward? How was the matching process? How are you feeling as you started this part of the journey?
It was all kinds of things. It was equal parts a little bit daunting because you
Mm-hmm.
just don't know. And you guys very, very rightfully say it could be 12 months. It could take 9 months. We were coming out of COVID. There was still so much happening, with the demand for surrogates and so many hoops people were jumping through with all of that.
Yeah.
There's just all these caveats, and you're like, you have to sort of prepare that this could be an odyssey.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were trepidatious about that. But the flip side was we finally felt a little bit like we were in control of something.
Mm.
And up to this point, I felt absolutely out of control. And you're just at the whim of the process, and you're up and you're down.
Sure.
And at this point, it was nice to be at the helm a little bit
Yeah.
and have a say so and be doing something, taking action. There's a plan. And for me, I'm just a person who it may take a while, but if I know there's a plan,
That
I'm
feels good.
I'm worlds better than I was
Yeah.
before, even if the plan is not seen through quite yet. So that's sort of how we felt at the beginning and the matching process. But we felt all those things for absolutely no reason. For us, I will tell you, we're an anomaly. All the rough luck we had before, like the karma gods, just actual God, everybody just shone down upon us because we
Yes.
put our profile up, and we were matched, or we were chosen within 2 days, and we were
So crazy.
blown away. We didn't think that would happen. I mean, we worked hard on our profile, and we put our hearts and our souls into it, so we knew it was good,
Yeah.
but we didn't know that it was being chosen in 2 days good. And I'm not saying that's why. It was timing, it was so many things, but
Yeah.
yeah, we got a call a couple of days later that we were chosen, and then informed of all the next steps of, okay, we're going to do a video meet, and then if you like each other, we'll get the green light from both sides to proceed and go from there. And so we were blown away. We were still like, is this too good to be true?
Sure.
Because you have enough heartache happen, and you're scared to believe something good.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah. That
so we
cautious
were,
optimism.
yes, so we
Yeah.
were just like, okay, this is great, but we got to all meet each other. And then, you know I don't know how far you want me to go, if you want to break
Oh,
this up,
go.
but then
Yeah,
we
no, just
met
go.
we
Yeah.
met our eventual surrogate gestational carrier and her husband, and it just was, they were just amazingly warm, wonderful people. We could tell that.
Mm.
And it was like, I don't have any hesitations here. They're wonderful people. And from there, you have to jump through some more housekeeping type things,
Sure,
legal,
absolutely. Yeah. Well,
right?
for even before legal, you've got to, sign
Medical.
that agency agreement. You've got to do that escrow account and, you've got to do that. And then you get to the fun of medical screening and psych and legal and all of that. But even before that, you guys haven't even met in person yet.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
okay, to pause before we get there, you have your match meeting. Everybody said yes.
Mm-hmm.
Were you still cautiously optimistic, or were you like, oh, here we go?
I think I was more, oh, here we go.
Yeah.
I really just had a lot of peace about it.
Mm-hmm.
And of course you think about someone carrying your child who's not you, and your alpha comes out, and is she gonna drink too much caffeine? Is she gonna this, that, or that? Like, you worry about all these things. And it wasn't her, it was anybody. Anybody
Sure.
who would have been entrusted with such an amazingly precious gift. And you think about all of that. But then I think, what kind of grace I would have given myself had I
Sure.
been carrying. And I had to
Yeah.
talk myself through some of that, but I never was concerned, really. I was kind of like, okay, here we go. And from being my coordinator, that there were a couple of ledges that you had to talk me off, but really, I there was so much peace about it because of the shepherding that we got along the way from you all. But then, we just hit the jackpot with the angel
You
who
really did. Oh, you
decided
guys
to
were
help us.
so dreamy. Just as a group, you
Oh,
guys were just so dreamy. And I could truly honestly say that. It really was just so dreamy. And I don't want to spoil, but truly, like, absolutely just amazing all the way around. Um, how did you know? I mean, I know you said, she was warm and her husband was warm and it was just a wonderful meeting. How did you know it was right? It was 2 days. Like, you guys were there for 2 days. You didn't even think to, like, well, maybe we'll just wait. Maybe there's someone else.
really? No, it was just a feeling. It was just, there was just peace there.
Yeah.
It was some of it was that for me, Joey is a very scientific, methodical person.
Sure.
He
He deals in
thinks of things
facts.
very logically. So he's the
Yes.
logic side. I'm
Yes.
the heart. I'm the emotion.
Mm.
I'm the feel. I'm the gut. And together if there was a hole to be poked in this situation, he would have found it.
Uh-huh.
And he didn't. And just in my heart, I trusted the feeling, I trusted the timing, and I just was like, this is just meant for us. This is our path.
Yeah.
Let's go. And
Mm.
didn't have any hesitation about it. And also, I felt very fortunate that it did happen so quickly.
Yeah.
And so I was like, why wouldn't we take advantage of this and just have faith and trust our guts and just go? So we did. And I never, when you're looking for like a wedding dress, for instance, you might find the perfect dress that you love, but you're also like, there are millions of wedding dresses. What if
Sure.
there's one that's like slightly more perfect out there? But I never had that feeling that there was someone
Yeah.
better. I just didn't. And I feel
Yeah.
very lucky that I didn't, because if there is a situation to overthink, I will overthink it.
Way to be self-aware.
This is one thing I know about myself. So I'm very grateful that I did not have to go down that spiral for not even a second.
I love that. Yes. Oh, and it was so perfect. So, okay, fast forward. You guys meet each other for the first time. When, where, how was it? Give me all the things.
So we met them for dinner at a little Italian restaurant in kind of Westview, because they live south of town. We live in town. So we met there, and it was great. We talked already quite a bit and gotten a feel for each other and who they
Yeah.
were, their family and their jobs, and vice versa. And it just was easy. it was fun. At that point it was great because it wasn't about the baby. It wasn't
Sure.
about the process. It wasn't about anything. It was about them and us. And
Yeah.
just getting to talk and getting to know each other as people, not as intended parents or gestational carrier and spouse, none of that. It was just
Hmm.
as people. And Kellie knows I'm doing this, and she said I was allowed to use her name, and I've asked all the permissions, and so she's very happy that I'm doing this. But Kellie was funny. We talked about, she's like, yeah, I eat like an 8-year-old kid. I don't like, I don't. And so we got to know each other, like, and we made fun of each other and ourselves. And it just was very, easy and,
Yeah.
and just great. And I was just, and she gives the best hugs of anyone I've ever met in my life. And she gave me
Mm.
those kind of hugs from the very beginning. And I was like, how could I possibly go wrong? It was great. It was great.
Mm.
It was easy
Yeah.
without a doubt.
Well, it's beautiful that you guys, I mean, to note, you all were local, albeit, the city is as local as, local you can say. But you guys are in the same city, and that does lend to some extra fun of making, and you guys chose to make that effort of let's meet each other outside of this process.
Yes.
And I think that's so beautiful that you both gave the effort to build the relationship. I mean, yes, you were brought together because of this one purpose, but you established a friendship. Um,
Definitely.
and that's so important to this process if that's what you want, but that's so important to this process, especially as you're building trust, because like you said,
Yes.
you're trusting someone with this beautiful, amazing gift, and you want to feel good about it. You don't want to hold your breath for 9 months.
No.
And that's uh, it's so wonderful, and really just shows who you all are as people to want to make that effort in this process.
Yeah, it to me it was never, and to both of us, it was never going to be anything else. It
Yeah.
was just too intensely personal and important, and the sacrifices that they were making for us and the trust that we were placing in them, and it just needed to
Mm,
come organically. And it would be very hard for all of that, us asking for that level of sacrifice, her asking for our trust, all of that would have been hard had we not formed a relationship, in my opinion. I know these
yeah.
things take all different shapes and sizes, and whatever, everybody's journey is their own, but this was the way that it needed to be for us. And
Yeah.
by the time we got to this point, we were fully embracing of everything, every bit of it, and we're like, this is our journey. These are our people, and we're all going to be in each other's lives in some capacity forever. And our child will know
Mm,
where she came from, and there will never be any doubt or hesitation because it was incredibly beautiful. So to be
yeah.
friends outside of it was very important to us, but also was very easy, which is
Mm,
great because I know
yeah.
that that is not the case in every situation. As good as everyone is who's involved, it's a
Of course.
chemistry thing, right? It
Yeah.
just is. And we just all happened to click, as she and I especially, which, let's face it, that's the linchpin of relationship, right? You need that one to click and function at a very
Sure.
high level. And it did. And it did
Mm,
because of our effort, and it did because of theirs. And
yeah.
they let us into their lives, and they introduced us to their family, and knew, their kids know our names. And
Yeah.
it was important to them too,
Mm-hmm.
which helped. It just all really unfolded very naturally, and I just feel so lucky.
I love that. I'm so glad that, I mean, and it does. And that's, again, that's kind of part of that great matching process, is you both were on the same page of the level of relationship that you wanted.
Yes.
And it just, and it, that's huge and does create an amazing journey for sure. How was, you had your chosen support system that
Hmm.
had been with you prior to this part of your journey. How What was kind of their reaction when you were like, hey, this is now the route we're taking, and oh, by the way, we're about to go have dinner with them, and like now
Right.
I've met my new best friend, and like how what was kind of their reaction for that?
It was really well. So let me say before that, we a little bit shrunk our circle
Sure.
because we wanted to not for any reason other than the next bit of news that we gave certain, the world at that point, small world, but world, we wanted the next piece of news to be good. And we were
Mm.
just ready for that for us. And so we a little bit shrunk our circle. But when we did tell our parents and our best friends, they were over the moon. They were thrilled. They were so excited.
Mm.
My mother was so incredibly relieved because she was
Oh,
worried. She was worried. She was worried
yeah.
about me mentally. She was worried about me physically.
Sure.
Anytime you jump in a car and drive with your hair on fire to the medical center when your kid's in surgery,
Yeah.
that's rough.
Yeah.
And they had been through all of that with us, and that was a lot. And she was incredibly relieved.
Mm.
I think supportive is an understatement. And she was supportive
Mm.
for many reasons. Obviously, they wanted a grandchild. They wanted us to have a child, but
Sure.
she was also relieved that I was not in any
Danger.
harm or
Yeah.
danger, or that I wasn't going to ask my body to do something for me again that maybe it had kind of let me know it might not be able to do. So
Yeah.
everybody was very supportive. Everybody had a lot of questions,
Sure.
all completely well-founded, well-intentioned, and we were happy to tell them, just like I'm happy to talk about this now, is just
Mm-hmm.
educating people and taking some of what I think is shame away
Mm.
from not being able to have your own child the old-fashioned way, and the sadness that comes from not being able to carry your own child and things of that nature. It's just, if I can, make one person feel better about something like this, then this is all for something beyond what it was
Yeah.
for us. So
Yeah.
long answer to your short question, but they were extremely supportive, very
No.
happy.
Yeah, but it's a big deal. It's a big deal to continue to have that support system in this process.
Huge.
And it's wonderful that you were able to continue to lean on them as you went into this next chapter of it.
Yes.
So, okay, you meet Kellie and you guys we do start the process. What were the feelings like as we were ramping up to that transfer day?
Excited.
Yeah.
You know, I knew the process, so
Uh-huh.
um, that helped.
Sure.
We did not have to have anything explained to us, which was helpful. And when she would talk to me about, taking shots or this or that, I was like, oh, I know. And we would compare notes and
Sure.
all the things. And I was like, oh, by the way, use a heating pad and use it. We would talk about the progesterone and
Sure.
oil shots, and, if you know, you know. And it was fun for us to be able to bond over that. I felt very much a part of it. There were moments where I was kind of blue and I would struggle with that sort of high that you get from being almost there when
Yeah.
anything is possible still.
Yeah.
And I struggled with that, but at the same time I was very relieved that it wasn't up to me, and
Mm.
that I didn't have to kind of like brace, because let's
Sure.
face it, I was braced. I couldn't help it. The stress that I had and the fear from before, it's really hard to not have that. Doesn't matter how
Yeah.
much meditation you do, because I did a lot. It doesn't matter if you do acupuncture, how many walks you go on, how many podcasts you listen to. I mean, I did it all.
Yeah.
And it helps, but it's still hard. It's still a big hill to overcome. So I felt a lot of relief. The feelings I had of sadness were way outweighed by the relief that I had,
Mm.
because I was like, this is out of my hands,
Yeah.
and that felt good.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, and it's fun that it's funny that you say you were so excited about the surrogacy journey because you were able to kind of take the helm and have control over something. And then it's also fun that you kind of loved the fact that you weren't in control and it
Yeah.
was just, I'm along for the ride. And I am like, and we are talking about heating pads and shots and comparing notes and, but you do have kind of that physical sense of relief, like you said.
Yes. You can
Yeah.
kind of put it down, and it's like
Yeah.
it's a load that you can just kind of put down, and that was
Yeah.
nice.
Absolutely. So, as with all things, it's a journey.
Right?
And that first transfer, we were so hopeful, and unfortunately, it didn't work
Didn't
out.
take,
It didn't
didn't
take.
take. And, that was gutting. I will say it, at least I was grateful for just a negative test
Mm-hmm.
because I had been the other way. Your HCG is X. We need you to come back in 2 days. And then 2 days after that. And then 2 days after that. And it's
Sure.
death by 1,000 cuts. And,
Yes.
and if it ends well, which I don't know that story, tell me how that story ends. I don't know it. But if it ends well, great. But if it doesn't, it's so hard and it's
Yeah.
so much uncertainty. So to get a negative test, while gut wrenching, because the first thing I said was, we've done all of this. We have moved mountains. Literally, we've moved
Mm-hmm.
mountains. And here we are
Mm-hmm.
with another negative test. So not to say I wasn't pretty, but I was grateful to know and not have to
Sure.
do the up
The
and down of it
finality of it.
all.
There was no, yeah.
And yeah, the finality of it. Like, that we're going to see another day here. We're going to, move on. And this is where you came in and were huge, because I can get kind of sidetracked and like bogged down and sad. And you were like, okay, and it wasn't immediate. You gave us time, and
Of
I
course.
appreciated that, but you didn't give us too much time. And you were like, okay, campers. And you're so positive and you're so just, your vibe is just, it's happy, but it's not like this toxic positivity. It's like
Oh,
this
thank
genuine.
you. No, I can't tell you what, like, just a relief it is to hear you say that.
Oh, because toxic positivity is a thing, right? Like,
100%.
turn that frown upside down and be grateful for your blessings and all that kind of
Mm-mm.
stuff.
Sure.
But you're just like, you're just a positive person, so you don't really have to, you don't have to fake it. And so anyway, you got with us and you're like, okay, next, what's next? What are we going to do next? And
Mm-hmm.
that was, it was soon, but it was as it needed to be for me. I mean, I can go back and forth on a sofa or a rug or my husband will tell you, I can be so indecisive that I need somebody to a little bit prod me forward, which was what you did so gracefully. And so we picked up and Kellie was on the same page. She was like, let's
Yeah.
go. I'm ready. And
Yeah.
her attitude was huge because
Mm-hmm.
she wasn't physically or mentally saying no or slow down or anything. And she could have, and I would have respected that. And I
Yeah.
halfway expected that. But you guys were like, okay, we're doing this, let's go. And so from there we had a pretty serious conversation with our doctor. And we
Yeah.
just said, listen, we've tried this a certain way several times now, with my body, with hers. It hasn't worked. What can we do differently? Because we just don't want to keep going the same route and just play the numbers and hope that this eventually works.
Yeah.
We're fatigued, like mentally, physically, it's tough. And he said, let's look at a natural cycle. Her body it does all the things.
Yeah.
There's no reason why it can't do all the things. Let's let it do what it was meant to do and see where that takes us. And spoiler alert, it worked.
It worked. It worked.
It
But
worked.
it's so, it says something to everyone, involved, that, Kellie was so quick to, okay, what's next? Like, yes, of course, we are sad, we are disappointed. And also, like, we're going to keep going. And
Yep.
it speaks so highly of the both of you of, hey, doctor who we, trust and love and has gotten us so far, help us understand what's
Right.
like, what's happening, and is there an alternative? And you had that relationship, you can have that hard conversation. And again, that's the joy in building a team that you trust, and
Yes.
being in a journey with people that are there to support you and are there to ask those questions and are there to guide, and just all of that. And it worked. It
Definitely.
worked. And for those who don't know, a natural cycle is like a lot of appointments. It's a lot of
Yes.
appointments and
Unpredictable appointments.
unpredictable appointments. And Kellie was so all about it. She was
Oh,
there. She just, yeah, she was like, okay, let's do it. I'm here for it.
she was such a trooper. And she's she's a teacher. She doesn't have a job that she can just drop
Right.
and just, okay, sorry, I'm going to be late, or I've got to leave early, or I'm going to run out for lunch and come all the way into town, dealing with
Mm-hmm.
traffic, parking, all of that. And she just was the biggest trooper in the whole wide world. And
She had such a happy heart doing it.
oh, she did. She did. She
Yeah.
was great. And we couldn't have asked for more because it was a big ask. The whole thing is a big ask, but the natural cycle where you're just at the whim and they take your blood and they're like, okay, well, we're going to need to do this and this. And it's nothing. You can't go out of town. You can't, I
Sure.
mean, it's, it was a lot. And she did it with a happy heart.
Hmm. How are you feeling as, okay, we're doing this again. It's new and different. We haven't done this one before. And as we're leading up to another transfer, that is unpredictable. So we don't even
Right.
have like we don't even get to plan for like this particular day or like all of those things. It is just kind of like how to go today. Okay, now we have to wait for the email. Now we have to, just all of that. What were
Right.
your feelings like during that?
It was a little unsettling because I liked having the calendar and the dates and the this and the that, and being able to plan. I'm a huge planner,
Sure.
but it was refreshing because it was different and it was something new and unpredictable. And that was honestly a little refreshing too, just that we didn't know how this whole process was going to look.
Uh-huh.
And, I was kind of okay with it. I think that doing the exact same thing again, I would have had a lot more fear. I would have had a lot less hope. I think I would have become somewhat jaded about it. But to have a new plan, here's our new plan. Let's reset. Let's breathe. Let's shed our tears, but then let's pick up and let's execute on this new plan. And having that was huge. And having the support of everyone and everyone's willingness and the doctor saying, this is no big deal. Here's what we do. Her body does what it's meant to do. And there was something very refreshing about that to me. Just let's all take a step back and let's just let her body do its thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's so beautiful, because we're here because my body couldn't unfortunately do its thing. So maybe at the end, it's this full circle moment where we just back off and we just kind of let things happen.
Yeah.
And they did. So I had a feeling, I had a tremendous sense of hope, and I just had a feeling that it was going to work out. And then along the way, certain things were different, which was also good. So like, because of the timing of it all, because as you said, you don't even know when transfer day is going to be. You don't have that lead up. You don't have that anticipation. And that's kind of good.
Yeah.
It just is, you get the labs and you're like, all right, it's go time. And
there's no time to overthink. There's no time to overthink. You're just, okay, gotta go.
No. And it's beautiful. It's like, we've had enough time to think. We don't need to think anymore. Let's just go. And so that was nice. And so we did it on a different day. It was always on a Tuesday. We went on a Friday. It was, our doctor was not on call. So we had a totally different team. We had a different, I can't think of the name of the guy, the lab guy. The guy
embryologist.
The embryologist, who's a very credentialed, very smart person. He's not a lab guy. He's more than that. But we had a different one. Everything was different. And I just was like, this is good. I feel good about this. And the vibes were so good. And I just felt it in my bones, I guess. And so it was good. It was okay. I was happy with it.
How did you feel getting that first HCG level after already having, because I mean, you said you've had the positive before.
Right.
How did it feel this time?
It felt honestly great. It's an amazing story, kind of, because it's the pregnancy test, right? It's like positive or negative kind of thing, and maybe positive with a caveat. But we had been in Austin at a football game, and we knew we were going to get the call on Sunday, and so we got up and we left our friend's house. We were on the road because we wanted to be by ourselves when we got the call.
Yeah.
And so we're driving through little towns in Texas, and our service is terrible.
Oh, no.
And I'm looking at my watch and I'm like, they should be calling by now. I wonder why they're not calling by now. And I'm in my head and I'm obsessing. And Kellie and her husband are at the Texans game. And I'm like, and so the plan was for them to call me and me to call her because we were
Sure.
worried, was she going to have signal? You know how it is when you're in a stadium full of um, tens of thousands of people. Anyway, so we're not hearing anything, and I'm like, oh my gosh. So Kellie texts me, and she's like, they called me, and my heart just falls into my stomach, and she's
Mm,
like, do you want to know? And I'm like, yes, I want to know. And she
yes.
just types back in all caps, we're pregnant, with like 1,000 exclamation points. I burst into tears, like just uncontrollable tears.
Yeah.
Joey's driving. I lean over, I grab his arm. I'm like, we're pregnant. He starts bawling, crying. We're
Oh.
driving down, 290 in small town Texas, just bawling our eyes out. And so it was beautiful. It was like the best moment ever. And I'm really happy that I got to hear it from her
Mm.
versus, I mean, as much as I came to love all the people we dealt with at the RE,
Yeah.
they weren't her.
Yeah.
And to get to hear it from our person, it just was it was magical, and I'll never, as long as I live, forget it. And so at that point, all we knew was that we were pregnant. We didn't know there were any HCG concerns, which, as it turns out, they went away very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
I think her first blood draw after that pregnancy test, it was like, and we
Yeah.
were off to the races, and we were, you know, I guess we're not released, but we were back on like a normal protocol, not having to go every couple of days. So
Yes.
I honestly didn't let myself get too weighed down by it. And her levels, even at what they were worlds better than mine ever were. And so I
Mm.
knew enough to know we're much better than we've ever been.
Yeah.
I'm not going to worry about it. And I just didn't. And so, yeah, it was. So then after I spoke to her, then I talked to the doctor's office, and they walked me through everything. And, for a moment I was kind of worried and whatever, but like none of that took the joy away from that
Mm.
moment.
Yeah.
And it just was magical. That's the best word I can think of to describe it.
Oh, for sure. How did it feel when, okay, you have graduated and now we're off to the OB, and this is like the part of the journey that is so foreign. We haven't been here before.
Right? No, we've never made it past the IVF doctors,
Yeah.
It was so cool. It was so exciting. It was so unbelievable to see that heartbeat. I'll never forget it as
Mm.
long as I live. And it was just so exciting. I mean, I was nervous,
Of
with
course.
every milestone. You're happy, but then you're like, okay, let's make it to 12 weeks. And from there, you're like, let's make it through the anatomy scan,
Yeah.
and on and on and on. Past the anatomy scan, I really stopped being nervous, I think. But it felt amazing. And
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't even know what it's like at the OBGYN. I can't wait to go.
Oh, this is so exciting.
What it's going to be like, some of them are exciting. Some of them are 2 minutes long. You never know. But luckily ours were all very uneventful because she had a very smooth
We love
pregnancy.
uneventful. We love boring. I always say
Love
it.
it.
Boring is fabulous in this situation.
Yes. Give me all the boring. I'm fine with that.
Absolutely. Throughout this process. So, okay, we've gotten here. We're graduated. We are now full-fledged pregnant. We're doing the things. We're going through those appointments, just all of that. How did your relationship with Kellie grow and evolve?
I mean, just super naturally.
Yeah.
We went to all the appointments with her. If Joey were sitting here, he would be quick to point out that he went to every single one. I had to miss 2 because of work. So let me just go ahead and get that out there.
Oh, very good. Okay. Shout out to you, Joey. Every single one.
Shout out to Joey. Credit to my husband for being A+100. And so we went to, and so we would, but more than that, we talked every day. We would text, we would see each other, we would meet for coffee.
Mhm.
But we talked more than anything because, she lives in Pearland. We live in town. She's got 3 kids, and life just is life, right? You can't
Yeah.
always be face to face, but we saw each other so much at the doctor. And then where we could, we would go grab a bite or a coffee. We would always hang out afterwards and talk, but we talked every single day. And
Mm.
I would check in with her, but I also tried to be very mindful of, she's a person.
Yeah.
She's got a life. She's got children. She's got a whole lot other things going on than just being pregnant. And
Yeah.
I tried to always be very mindful of that and ask her how her day was and how the kids are and how's school and how's this and that. And not just be like, how are you feeling? And just,
Sure. Sure. It wasn't always about the
oh,
pregnancy. It was because you guys had established a friendship prior to pregnancy.
right, right.
Yeah.
And it wasn't hard. And we would talk about, the things that were going on with her kids, things that were going on in our lives and all that. And
Yeah.
there was this whole thing going on at the time with like schedules and the eventual due date and a family wedding, and I was stressing out about that, and she knew all about
Sure.
that.
Yeah.
And so we were in each other's lives. I have a good friend, and she says that like when you have a certain level of a friendship, that you live life together. And
Mm.
that's how I felt we weren't maybe seeing each other every single day, but we were living life together.
Yeah.
And it just was very easy. And again, with the chemistry and us just being kind of two peas in a pod, I just feel like we were just the right fit for each other. And it was very easy for both of us to be in each other's
Yeah.
lives daily. And it wasn't stressful, and I didn't worry mostly.
Mm.
And once we got past kind of the beginning stuff, and I was like, okay, we're good. Baby's sticking around.
Yeah.
I just was able to not worry. I trusted her. And
Mm.
she did, and she's good at being pregnant. She can do it. And I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm just gonna let's let her body do its thing. And it did. So I feel very, very lucky that I had that level of peace throughout it,
Yeah.
the whole process.
I love that. And again, that trust that was established, that relationship that you put work into
Mm-hmm.
made I mean, it made it. It made it where you didn't have to worry and where you could just be
Exactly.
like, okay, yep, she's doing her thing. And we
Yeah.
love her for that.
Yes. Yes. It was
Yeah.
nice to finally not worry.
Mm,
It felt so good.
yeah. Oh, gosh, for sure.
Yeah.
What would you say before delivery day? Because we know delivery day is amazing. But what would you say was maybe throughout that process, kind of one of your maybe like favorite moments or just memorable? Oh, yeah, I'm going to keep this besides obviously finding out we're pregnant and that sweet heartbeat.
Right. Right. I think, gosh, there were so many. I mean, I think hearing the heartbeat was huge
Yeah.
for us all of us, because she was
Hmm.
as invested as we were.
Yeah.
The anatomy scan was
Oh,
amazing. It's so neat.
yes.
And so we did not know whether we were having a boy or a girl. So
I was
it
going to
was,
say, to
as you
note,
know,
you did
Whitney.
not know.
Yeah, we were very adamant about it. Because, and I will say the rationale is, everything was so clinical that when we
Sure.
finally got to the point where we could not be clinical, we were like, this is this little bit of magic, the best surprise ever. Let's wait and find
Yeah.
out. And we didn't know what our embryos were. We still don't know. And that was just how we chose to do it. Some people
Yeah.
can't live that way. To me, that was just, it was a no-brainer for both of us. And so Kellie, sweet Kellie, she a planner. She was like, I can't believe we're not finding out. But she was completely on board, and she understood and supported us. And so we were the three of us. We were like, we're not finding out. So every appointment would start with, we're not finding out. And we would just make sure that the tech knew.
Sure.
And it was all over our file and all of that at the OB. But
Right. Big bold
so
letters.
big bold letters. And so at the anatomy scan, it's just something that I remember so vividly. The tech was like, okay, I'm going to tell you guys when you all have to look away. You're all going to have to close your eyes. There's going to be some points. And we were like, okay, tell us.
Okay.
And so she would, and then we would all be, doing this. And like moments like humor, levity, things, and all the appointments we went to where Emmy was kicking Kellie, and she was camera shy, and anytime we tried to get that ultrasound in her face, it would be like wham, and you would just see Kellie's stomach, and Kellie was like whoa, and there were just so many moments, and like doctor's office moments. I would say those will forever stick in my mind. But then we had showers, and Kellie and Henry were there, and we had a
Yeah.
little party for Kellie, and just it was like me and my mom and my mother-in-law and her and all of her friends and family, and that was very special. So there were a lot of special moments. Those are the ones I remember I remember it all. Those are the ones I think those moments I'll carry with me, real vividly
Yeah.
forever.
Yeah. You touched on it, and I will never forget getting the text message from the pictures of that sweet party that you threw for Kellie to
Mm.
celebrate her. And it's so amazing that and I'll speak for me as a surrogate. I was all about celebrating the intended parents however they wanted to celebrate, and I wanted to just pour in, like, let's oh, let me buy you this, and oh gosh, are we going to do that, and and all of that. And in the midst of you being celebrated and getting to this point and having those fun baby showers, you took that extra effort to, like, hey, let's celebrate you, Kellie, and with her friends. And that is so beautiful. That is so beautiful, because I mean, again, it just points to that relationship that you guys worked to
Yeah.
establish. And oh my gosh, so special.
Well, thank you. I didn't I would love to say that I took credit. I read a book, and
Yeah.
it probably would have occurred to me to do something for her for sure. But doing it in this exact way, it was I read about it in a book, and I was like, you know what, that's so amazing. And it was like, let's shower her. And people
Mm,
brought, fluffy robes and yummy lotion and,
sure.
like, I don't,
Her favorite things.
all the things, like a spa
Yeah.
gift certificate, all the things, cute little things that all of her friends knew she loved. And
Yeah.
it just was special. But also, it's nothing that I just can't imagine not doing something like that for someone who did so much for us.
Mm,
Obviously, she did obviously the obvious things, but she was very, very nurturing of us through the whole process too. She would bring
mm.
us little things, and she would say, she would bring us a little toy that she knew that Emmy was going to love, or she would bring us clothes, or all these little gifts and things. And she's so thoughtful, and I can't imagine doing anything any differently.
Yeah.
But you're right. It was the relationship, and it was, you know, very natural to both of us to
Mm-hmm.
just to kind of spoil each other and nurture each other through the whole
Yeah,
process.
absolutely. Okay, tell me about delivery day. The
Oh
best
gosh.
day ever.
Oh God. It's burned on my brain.
Of course.
Gosh, it's such a surreal thing. And I know anybody who's had a child, whether it's through your own body or through a process like this, when you have a scheduled C-section, it's very surreal. It's
Yeah.
like one day I'm me, and when the next day I'm mom, and
Yeah.
the calendar flips and your whole life is different, and it's very surreal. And I know for people who are pregnant, it's that way too. It's like, okay, they're inside, and tomorrow they're going to be outside,
Yeah.
and that's a whole other adventure. And so it was just us being us. We were running late. That is how we call it. Dryden Central Time.
I
That
love
is
it.
how we operate. Yep. And if Joey were here, he'd say it's more me than him. But we were running a couple minutes late, and so Kelly's texting. She's like, "Are you coming?" And she wasn't like in the delivery room or
Are
anything
you
like that.
coming? I love how
The
that's the
very
question.
Yeah. Or maybe she said, "Are y'all on your way?" or something like that. I'm like,
Sure, sure.
hair on fire, driving down Fannin, hitting a million stoplight. Every single stoplight,
Sure.
I think, was red. Every single one.
Oh, of course, because it
And
always happens that way. Always.
always. And we're
Yes.
so prepared. We'd done the tour, we had the bags packed, all the things.
Yes.
Anyway, we got there. She was already changed, and kind of in the little area where you kind of wait, basically,
Sure.
before
Sure.
you were formally prepped. And she's in her gown and all that already, and Henry's in his scrubs with his little hat. And I mean, it was so crazy.
Yeah.
I think what struck me the most about it is it's just like an appointment, and you're showing up, and everything's running on time.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, kudos to the hospital, to the doctor, to her staff. It was just, and I know it's not like that for many people, but it just was so smooth.
Yeah.
We got there. She went and got prepped. We waited in this little tiny room, me, Henry, and Joey, and we were in there with this other couple, and she was pregnant, and she was waiting to go get prepped. And she was talking about something Joey and I laughed about. She was talking about how many outfits she'd brought for her child to take all these pictures. And I looked at him and I was like, are we bad parents? Like, what is it? The cute little fluffy outfit that you go home in.
Sure.
And I'm like, that's it. Like maybe I brought a couple other things, but I remember thinking that I remember already feeling inadequate before she was even alive.
Oh, stop. Yep. Yeah. Welcome to mom guilt.
Anyway, we were laughing about it. And anyway, it's like the comic relief, the moments that you attach to when you're like, oh my God. And so then they call us in and she's prepped and she's laid out on that table. And man, it was so surreal. It happened so quickly.
Yeah.
I mean, we walked in, Taylor Swift is playing. And
of course. I love it. Yes.
I mean, Kellie's a huge Swiftie and I am now too. And I can hear it and I'm like, is that Taylor Swift? And the anesthesiologist is like, yeah, sure is. I'm like, all right, all is right with the world. And
Emmy, you were destined to be a Swiftie.
Oh, she is. She is. And so we started and it was very, I will say, jarring for someone who's never been a part of a C-section, whether it's having one or observing one. And they had the drape up, so I couldn't see anything. So we're sitting at her head. It's me and Joey and then Henry and we're all there and I'm holding her hand. And it just was very, I don't want to scare anybody, but it's like, you think it's this beautiful, like,
it's surgery.
Chirping.
It's surgery. Yeah. It's abdominal surgery.
And they are like they are pulling a body out of a person. Mm-hmm. And it looks as such. And I'm worrying about her and I'm looking at her and she's breathing and I'm like, oh, but then, out comes the baby and before we started, our doctor she asked us, okay, so do you want me to say it's a boy or it's a girl, or do you want the Lion King moment? And we were like, oh, no, we want the Lion King. Give us full Lion King. And so all the jarring happens. And this takes no time. Mm-hmm. I know you know. And then all of a sudden, Lion King moment, and she holds her up, and it's a girl.
It's a girl.
And I see her little lady part, and I'm like, oh my God, it's a girl. Yeah. And everybody's crying. And and someone asked, what her name was. And so I blurted it out. And fun fact and footnote here, we had a girl's name fully picked out, agreed on for months. We knew it for a year before. Yeah. Boy name, didn't know. We knew the middle name. That's all. We did not have it. And we would talk about it. And every night I'd be like, so should we talk about names? And Joey finally was like, let's save ourselves. We'll figure it out. What if we have a girl? Why are we
sure? Why stress? That's very logical, Joey. Well done.
As usual. So I was like, all right. And so we had a girl and our doctor was like, what's her name? And I blurted out her name and Joey was like, well, I'm glad we didn't have a boy because you would have just blurted out the name that you wanted in that moment. And he's like, and then it would have been done. And I was like, yeah, you're kind of right. But it was the most surreal thing. And then they handed her to us and we did skin to skin right away. And then we went over to the little warming, whatever the thing is called, incubator, whatever it is, when they're taking all of her vitals and doing her little AGPAR score. And I mean, her eyes were just wide and soulful already. And she was just holding on to Joey's finger. And it was just so amazing. I'll never forget it. It was after all of that, it's like everything. I'm going to have ugly cry.
Salty coffee.
Everything just kind of quieted. All the noise just kind of went away. Yeah. And it's like, and here she is. It was just so amazing. And I was taken with her. I was worried about Kellie. I was like, is she okay?
Sure.
I looked at Joey. I'm like, okay, you stay with the baby. I'm going to go make sure Kellie's okay.
Oh.
And it just was because she was our family now. And anyway, it was so beautiful. I couldn't have asked for more. Yeah. Anyway, it was amazing.
Magical. It was magical.
It was.
Yeah.
It was.
Oh.
It really was. And the hospital handles it, because you never know when you're going into all of this, how you're going to be treated.
Sure.
And how, do they understand the process? Do they respect the process? Are they, do they not like the process? all of that. And
Sure.
they were so wonderful. And I
Mm,
couldn't have asked for more. And the way they were accommodating to us and our room, they gave us a room right next to her room, and everybody knew. I
yeah.
was ready. I was prepared for people to not necessarily know what was going on, or to maybe
Yeah.
call her mom or whatever. And, you know, that really didn't happen. A couple of
Mm.
times the nurses came into our room to take my vitals, and I was like, nope. And
I mean, you can if you want to, but
yeah, it was a fantastic feeling. I was like, no, no, you don't need to wake me up at 3 a.m. to, take my blood pressure.
no, thank you.
Yeah. So it was, but I was amazed at the people and how wonderful they were. And it's just a common theme to the story. And I know some of your other podcast guests have said this, but just the people in this world are just, they're angels, all of them.
Mm,
It's amazing. It makes it so much better. And
yeah.
it takes what was once a struggle and just makes it so beautiful.
It's a huge
Oh,
celebration and there's just so many
yes.
involved in it. And
Yes.
it becomes this huge party.
It kind of does. And it's so joyous and everyone's so happy, and I know that not all moments are joyous and happy, and it's a journey, but when you get
Yeah.
to the other side of it, it's like it was all worth it to get you to that point of where you
Yeah.
were meant to be with your little
Mm,
person that you were meant to have, and like it all of a sudden all makes sense.
yeah. Yeah. Oh, you're so right. You're so right. What would you say was maybe one of your biggest surprises just in this whole process?
Um Gosh, so many. I think my biggest surprise, other than finding out we were having a girl,
Yep, absolutely.
was that was obviously the biggest surprise. Um, was just the peace that I felt.
Mm,
I don't, it was a hard fought journey, and
yeah.
I just don't think I anticipated feeling that level of calm, feeling
Mm,
that level of peace, feeling just being able to let go
yeah.
and just enjoy the process. I really enjoyed it. I don't feel like I missed out on anything.
Mm,
I don't feel like I was in my head, or unable to see the good
yeah.
because I had so much worry. And I'm very lucky, and I know that all situations are not like mine, but in mine, I would say that was probably my biggest surprise, because as I said, I do tend to overthink. I worry, and we'd been through so much that I
Yeah.
was very relieved that I did not have that that worry and that fear hovering
Yeah.
over me the entire time. That is probably my
Mm.
single biggest surprise.
I mean, it's amazing to have gone from something that was so hard to be able to still have your joy and get
Yes.
to experience Emmy before she got here and be able to have those big moments and those, like you said, that humor and those silly things that you think about. And, it's wonderful. It's just
It
wonderful.
it was. I can't say more about it. I mean, I could go on for days. I can't speak more highly of the experience. And I've spoken to other people who have done it, and because this community is very, once you're in it,
Yeah.
it's very sticky, and people are always looking to talk and share. And I know not everybody's journey is the same, and I just feel very fortunate that mine was the way it was. And
Hmm.
I couldn't have asked for more. And now
Yeah.
that she's here, she's funny, and she laughs, and she just fits
Yeah.
so perfectly in our little family. And it's like this little person was meant to be our little person.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
it just all makes sense now. And I feel very lucky that I feel that way.
Oh, and that little person is so precious. Oh my gosh, she's so precious.
I think so. She's pretty great.
Oh gosh, she's so great. What would you say, like, what is one piece of advice that you would either give to day one, Allison, or maybe some advice that you would give to another intended parent or a woman who's thinking about becoming a surrogate?
Um, to the intended parents, or the people who are considering being intended parents, I would
Yeah.
say to let go
Mm.
of the sadness, the disappointment, grieve it, feel
Sure.
it. You have to,
Yeah.
right? But once you've done that, put it down and just know that at the end, it's all going to make sense. And at the end, the how isn't going to matter.
Mm-hmm.
It's you have your baby who was meant to be your baby, and the process and the that it might not have been conventional, it won't matter. Your
Yeah.
baby is your baby. And my best friend told me that throughout the entire process. She said, at the end of the day, you're no less a mother. And
Oh gosh, yeah.
this is not going to matter to you when you are holding her at the end of this. And I feel that so deeply. And I know there's so much pressure on people, on women especially,
Mm.
pressure society puts on us, pressure we put on ourselves. And I think some people think, and I know I did at a point too, going this route or going IVF or whatever is failure.
Mm.
And it's not, it is just a pivot. And we're just lucky enough
Yeah.
to have these resources available to us. If we want to have a
Absolutely.
family, we're lucky that we can turn these corners and we can, and it's not over.
Yeah.
And you don't have to give up if you don't want to. And
Mm-hmm.
so I would just say the quicker that people can put that down, shame, any of that associated,
Mm.
those feelings that you can't help but have at some point, let
Sure.
it go and just know that it doesn't, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. And that the process will start, and it will be better almost immediately once you make that
Mm.
decision and you have that acceptance. And then to, surrogates and donors and all these people who do these selfless things. I mean, it's just amazing, and you're changing lives, and
Yeah.
it's incredibly selfless. I mean, no matter what your compensation might be, whatever, it is still sacrificing months and months and months of your life and your time.
Yeah.
And it's, childbirth isn't always perfect or easy, or like,
Sure.
it's a risk, and you're putting yourself at risk for someone else. And it's just incredibly selfless. And I can never express my gratitude fully to her, to anybody, to you, to anybody who does these things, and making it more accessible to people who want to have a family, who can't do it themselves.
Yeah.
um and just keep at it, because there's always
Yeah.
going to be someone who needs you.
Mm. So beautiful. So beautiful. Well, I mean, gosh, this story is so gorgeous. I have one last question for you. And
Okay.
as you know, it's my fun one.
Yeah.
So, and you knew it from day one. I'm pretty sure our first meeting, I was sipping on some coffee. So, shock
Yes,
upon
ma'am.
shock, here we are again. So, I always like to end with what filled your cup, either literally or figuratively. What was the thing that filled your cup today?
So literally I had this delicious like Mexican mocha with cinnamon on it. It was so good.
Mm.
It's Friday, so
So
I
yeah,
treated
we're
myself.
gonna treat ourselves. Absolutely.
Hmm. Yeah. And figuratively just going back down this path, this going
Yeah.
down memory lane, it
Mm-hmm.
is just so emotional for me. It's so huge. And our little girl is down the street at daycare right now, and
Yeah.
she's so amazing. And it just having her here, and the way the day to day now is incredible, and it's so much fun. But the process was so beautiful also. So
Yeah.
I'm glad that I got to relive it today, and
Yeah.
that definitely filled my cup.
Oh, well, it's a beautiful story, and I am so grateful to you for sharing it and wanting to, just speak to others about, the whole thing, and, to continue to give that hope. And in this way. And so I am just so grateful to you. And I, again, just personally just felt so lucky to get to be a small part of the ride to get to sweet little Emmy. So thank you so
Well,
much.
thank you. You were amazing. You
Oh
guys,
gosh,
just
thank you.
starting with Gail and then you, it just was so, it just felt right and it felt familiar. And like I said, just warm, wonderful people who navigate you through it. You don't have to ask questions. You don't have to wonder what's coming next.
Yeah.
Everybody involved, from the lawyers to you guys, to the medical staff, to the therapists, to everybody. I can't speak highly enough about this community and what they're
Mm,
willing to do for people. It's unbelievable, and the world deserves to know that you guys are out there. So I hope that
mm,
I thank you for what you're doing and raising awareness and educating people and taking some of the mystery away from this
mm.
process and just helping people to realize it's just real people.
Yeah, absolutely.
At the end of the day, nobody's driving fancy cars. Nobody's, it's just people wanting to have a family and people wanting to help.
Yeah.
And
No,
it really just comes down to that.
it really does. That's the best way to sum it up. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, gosh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And give special hugs to sweet little Emmy.
Well, thank you, Whitney.
Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Me, You, and Who. We appreciate your time and hope you enjoyed our discussion today. As we wrap, we would like to remind you of some of the ways that you can stay connected with us and be part of the Me, You, and Who podcast community. Firstly, if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platform. Hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode and can stay up to date with our latest content. But that's not all. We also have an exciting YouTube channel where we share some bonus content, behind the scenes glimpses, and video versions of our episodes. Head over to YouTube and hit that subscribe button there as well. And don't forget to click the notification bell so you'll be the first to know when the new episodes go live. And for more exclusive updates, engaging discussions, and a chance to connect with fellow listeners. Be sure to follow us on our social media accounts. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at Create a Happy Family. If you're interested in finding out more about creating a happy family, please visit us at www.createahappyfamily.com. Thank you again for being part of the Me, You, and Who community. Your support means the world to us. I can't wait for you to join us next time as we continue to share stories and journeys of creating happy families.